Hello and welcome to the special presentation of Oscar Mike Radio, Veterans Unchained United 3.0. I'm excited to be here. Thank you to Gina Alderman for putting this together. And I am with one of the lead co-authors. I am pleased to welcome fellow featured author, Jan de Zwarte to Oscar Mike Radio. Jan, welcome.
Travis, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So this is great. I was part of Veterans Unchained United 2.0, and now 3.0 is launching in a few days. But I'm curious, and my listeners will be too, who are you and how did you and Gina connect?
Well, those two are actually quite well related. Who am I? I am a transformational life coach living in the Netherlands. I've been studying coaching since 1999, I guess, with an organization called Coachville in the US. And in 2022, Gina and I met in one of the classes that Coachville created and delivers for coaches called Inner Freedom. And in that program, actually, when we started talking, she shared with me that she was actually at that point working on Veterans Unchained 2.0. And she asked me to guide her on a couple of those things, to coach her on a couple of things around that project. So that's where we met.
Now, define for me what is transformational coaching.
That's the big question, I guess, right? What is transformational coaching? Well, I guess all coaching at the end of the day is transformational. The challenge I see these days with coaching is a lot of people see coaching as telling others what to do. So there's a lot of people out there who are diet coaches or lifestyle coaches, and they will tell you what to do. And the way I look at coaching, the way we at Coachville look at coaching, is asking you questions, is helping you to find out what your answers are. So transformational coaching is really all about, there's something you're trying to achieve in your life. You may have a big dream. You may have a sense for a call to adventure. There may be a threshold to cross, right? Something to create, like for instance, a book or a story. And somehow you're not doing it. And transformational coaching is really about figuring out what is stopping you, what needs to be unlocked or unblocked inside of you, because that's where the transformation actually happens, inside of you, to be able to do what has been tough to do for you right now.
Now, the theme of Veterans Unchained 3.0 is Leaderless Leadership. And it's a very interesting topic for me in the context of how we put this together. But I'm curious, you don't have to give it all away up front, but when you thought of that, when you saw that, what came to mind when you saw that theme?
I think what came to mind for me in that theme was that the moments we all have at a certain point in life, or maybe even more often in life, where there is no script, there is no guidebook, there is no, this is how you do it. There's nobody telling you what to do, and there may actually be nobody to ask what to do. So all of a sudden you're confronted with a change in circumstances and you have to show up. You have to be a leader yourself, or lead yourself almost, to do the thing that needs to be done in that moment, because that's the only moment you can do it.
When you approached your story, how did you decide what topic to write about? And kind of take some time and talk to me about the experience of putting your story together.
Yeah, I think when Gina asked me, first of all, she asked me to write the foreword. I have been coaching with her in this year as well, and we've been talking about the project on a number of our conversations. And at a certain point, she said, "Hey, Jan, I'd love for you to write the foreword." And when I looked at the book itself, at the concept of the book, the whole idea of the anthology, right, the collection of stories, you wrote your story as a featured author. And of course, your story is one of 11, I believe, we have in the book right now. And what's interesting about those stories, that they are all stories about, of course, your experiences in the military in any way, shape, or form. And they are big stories. And they are stories of life, stories of transformation. They are stories of difficult situations, right? But also stories of resilience. And when I looked at some of your stories, and when I thought about the idea of the anthology, I was like, hey, it's funny when we talk about those stories, and especially in relationship to life and transformational coaching. Because at the end of the day, those stories, your story, for instance, has been a very transformational moment for you. And I think as human beings, we all have those moments. The big question is, do we recognize them as transformational? And that's where I love the idea of storytelling, but also story writing. And that's what I put into the foreword, that when you look at stories, right, they're a combination of beats, scenes, and acts. That's how they're built. And I love that idea of the beat, the little moments which happen in a certain scene, a certain location, and a couple of those scenes together are part of an act at the end of the day. So when you think about it, that's life as well. It's a whole bunch of acts, phases in life, right, which are consistent or which are based upon the scenes inside that act, and those scenes are a whole bunch of small little moments. And it's interesting to see how some of those fairly small moments in time, when I look at your stories, are very impactful for you, but potentially also for the readers who read them.
You got to learn a little bit about us because not only did you contribute with the foreword, you actually provided coaching to the authors. And I'm curious, you learned a lot about us, but what did you learn yourself from this exercise?
Oh, that's a big one. I think what I've learned is the depth of your stories, the impact of the experiences that you and your fellow authors have had. I've never served in the military. I've never been in the situations that some of you, or maybe most of you, have actually been in. And those are big moments, right? We all have our moments in life. We all have the things that form us in life. But when I look at those moments, that was big. And then when I spoke with some of you and realized how little support there actually was upon returning from the military. So you've been in an environment where people told you what to do, or some of you in the leadership position have been telling others what to do, and all of a sudden you're back in society and that whole thing changes. So what really stuck for me is the depth, but also the intensity of your experiences, but also how hard those experiences make it to actually be able to return to daily life. There's pivotal moments and pivotal moments, but all of you have had some very big of those moments.
What do you want people to learn then from us, the veterans and the authors who did this and put ourselves out there, and in some cases got, extremely vulnerable with people we were never going to see? That took a whole lot out of some people, and myself included. So what do you want people reading Veterans Unchained 3.0 to learn or feel as they're going through the book?
I hope that when they read all of your stories, they find the empathy inside to understand how big your experiences have been, but also to find a way to relate your experiences to their own experiences in their life, even when it's in a different environment, when it's not in the military. I think when you look at some of the stories, those are stories about abuse of power. They are stories about loss of friends, loved ones, whatever you want to call them. We all have those moments. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are taught to tuck it away, to let it go, to move on. And I think what we learned from your stories is that resilience is definitely something we have, and writing about it or speaking about it or finding a way to express it, to bring it to the surface, actually liberates you. And there's so many people out there who have those experiences that never have been surfaced. And I think that's what you said as well. It's being able to write it down, being able to commit it to paper somehow already helps to get it out of your system, right? To start processing it afterwards. And I think that's one of the key things that we want to give the readers as well. is, yes, there are horrible experiences that people have. Yes, there may have been horrible experiences you have had as a reader. The authors for sure have had. Um, and there are ways to post-process them. You can't undo what happened,
No, no.
but you can undo a part of, or maybe all of, the impact it has on you in your daily life right now. It doesn't have to define you.
Speaking of define, coaching and working with people is certainly been a defining moment for me. Working with you and getting some coaching from Gina. What is it about coaching that really fuels who you are?
What really fuels me there is this whole idea of untapped potential. When I look around me, when I look at myself in the mirror, when I see myself right now in this conversation here in Zoom, I realize there is so much untapped potential. There is so much more we are capable of as human beings that we may not be aware of in the moment. And what I love about coaching is allowing people to tap into that potential, to tap into their humanity, yeah, the light or whatever you want to call it, and actually express that into the world. So I would just love it when I'm in a conversation, when I'm listening to somebody, when I'm providing space for people to formulate their own thoughts, because that's a big part of what coaching is. Interestingly enough, by the way, right? When you think about coaches provide the space to be seen and heard, you're like, what? And you're getting paid by people to provide the space to be seen and heard? Yes, that's a big chunk of what we do, a safe space where people can just formulate their thinking when they are seen, where they are witnessed, and then by listening. And in my case, what I do a lot is making notes. And then at a certain point, you sort of feel what the right question is to ask next. And by asking that question, you all of a sudden you see the penny drop. I think that's always the moment for me when somebody all of a sudden has that moment and says, hey, but that's interesting. Or suddenly they find a moment in their history, a memory that basically says somehow this thing, this moment that happened is connected to what I'm trying to do right now, today. Wow, this has been blocking me all those years. That's interesting. And that's what I love about coaching. That's the liberation of that potential. The moment the penny drops, the moment that insight shows up and people are like, wow, you can almost feel or observe a shift in energy, which really starts to liberate, to create more of that inner freedom.
How can people outside of the veterans who participate in this project connect with you to, learn about you, your services, and maybe get coaching from yourself?
I think the easiest way would be through LinkedIn, and we'll share with them the link in the show notes. I think I said it's the easiest way. I'm playing a bit with some other social platforms at the moment as well, and we can share a couple of those links in there as well. But LinkedIn is the easiest way to connect, to follow, to reach out, to basically say, hey, I'd love to have a conversation. Can we schedule something?
And I will have that link in the show post for our conversation. I'm always asking what's next. I thought I was going to do one anthology and be done, and I've done multiple ones now. And you know, there may be, if I know Gina, there's probably already talk of a 4.0. Would you be interested in being part of another project with Gina in this kind of forum?
For sure, I can tell you for sure. I don't think Gina will mind me sharing this, but there is already talk about 4.0. We're even thinking about 5.0. We're even talking about setting up a potential coaching community around all of this, because one thing we feel is that there is so much need out there for people in that transition, in that transformation, and we need a whole bunch of people to be able to support all of that. And we're already discussing potential topics. So, like as an example, around family, or Gina even mentioned a topic around humor, which may be strange when you think about the veterans and everything that people have been experiencing. But there's humor involved there as well. So that might be one of the next ones. I am for sure game for the next anthology. One thing we've done, or I think Gina told me that this is one of the first times doing it. One thing we did in the book this round is we build in explicit pauses, basically. So between the chapters, between the stories, we are providing some space, some questions, some prompts for the readers to say, hey, what is the story I just read? And after reading this, what shows up for me? How does this somehow relate to my own life? And I know from Gina that that's something that she wants to bring into the other anthologies as well. So when we move into 4.0 or 5.0, to really not make it just a book. It's not just about the experience. It's not only the testimony of your stories, but to turn it into a mirror for the reader. And to basically say, all right, after I've read this story, what does this remind me of in my life? What is a story I maybe haven't told yet to somebody, or maybe a story I still want to write? So I am full game for everything that's coming next, whether it's 4.0 or 5.0 or whatever numbers there may be in that sense, and other projects. And the other thing for me personally, outside of the scope of Veterans Unchained, and maybe one day included in there as well, and it's something we talk about in the resources section in our book as well, is what you see behind me, the whole idea of the human journey. I was deeply inspired by Joseph Campbell's hero's journey in his book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. And when I looked at that word hero one day, I thought, Joseph, this is not about heroes or heroines. This is about humans. Every human being is facing challenges. Every human being is called to adventure. Every human being has thresholds to cross, which means we're all on that human journey. And I think if we would be able to ask for help more easily, right? And that's one of the key things we try to do in the resources part, but ask for help more easily, we would be able to cross a lot more of those thresholds. We would be able to live way bigger adventures than we may be living today. We may be able to serve the whole, right? The whole of humanity in a different way than we're doing today. And that's definitely what's next for me. I mean, that's what I believe I'm here for on this earth, to do that and keep doing that, whether it's in coaching, in speaking, in facilitating workshops, or in writing. And it's been a big privilege to be part of this group, to be able to be a part of a book that's being published, to see that happening, and see where that takes all of us.
The thing is, I do one of these and there's ripples, and the more I do it, the more ripples are out there, and the more I experience, the more I learn, and I realize just how much I don't know, and that's okay. I'm being in an environment where I can see other people's experience, their story, their the way they did their life, and understand that, it truly is about being able to come together, have that space, and then have it go out there and affect other people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
well,
I think that unknowing that you just described, I think we all have that, as long as we acknowledge that and accept that, right? We can't know everything. There is no need to know everything. But if that which we know or we think we know, and we learn and we start to understand and we share that with others, I love that word, ripple effect, right? It's about the domino effect, the chain reaction, whatever you want to call it. A word that really resonated with me in that sense is the idea of gift waves, right? What we do. I mean, if everything we would do would somehow be a gift to the people around us, and they would then be able to extend that gift to other people and really start to bring that over the earth, over the world, over the whole, liberating all of our potential. That's what we're here for.
well, we are here now, and it's going to be a great launch on Veterans Day. It's going to mean something for me this year, and I'm so pleased to meet you, to have worked with you, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Same here. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you to everybody out there for listening and to living the best life you can live.
Thank you very much. We're Mission in Flight. It's going to be exciting. We will see you next time. All the best.
All the best.